welcome everybody to Game 3 of AAA's aAaNerchio versus mouzMorroW from the Gigabyte Cup. Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen, has this been an amazing series so far. In Game 1, we saw some amazing macro from aAaNerchio, but we saw some amazing ghost work from mouzMorroW, and in Game 2, aAaNerchio just went balls to the walls with macro, went crazy macro, was able to do a little bit of infestor harass, and was able to take a win off of morroW. I'm not entirely convinced that aAaNerchio necessarily would have won that. I honestly think morroW could have come back from that, but morroW did decide to GG. Speaking of which, spawning here on the left side of MLG Dual Sight as the blue Terran, we have mouzMorroW. Spawning here in the right position as the red Zerg, we have Against All Authority aAaNerchio. Looks like aAaNerchio in this game is going to be going for a very, very fast hatchery. He's not going to be getting that spawning pool as he has in previous games. He did manage to go for that in some of his earlier games, but not this time. He is scouting his opponent. There is a bit of a rush distance. This is only a two-player map, so the rush distance is okay. It's okay to handle. It's about the same distance as Xel'Naga Caverns. So it's really possible to get some early rushes here. So this early hatchery can be a little dangerous on this map, but it looks like aAaNerchio is scouting out his opponent pretty well, seeing what he's doing, and so it looks like he's going to be able to get a fairly decent read on his opponent. He didn't see any barracks yet going down for morroW, so that might concern him just a little bit, but there is actually indeed one barracks out. It is slightly, I'm not exactly sure what morroW was going to be going for with that. Maybe he saw, just because that drone got into his base and didn't see the barracks already down, that he's going to assume that aAaNerchio, or that aAaNerchio would assume that there is going to be early pressure. So I'm not sure exactly what the point of putting that barracks down there was, and then just pulling it right back. Looks like he might have been going for some early pressure here, but then decided against it. Now, we do see some Lings now out on the map for aAaNerchio. They are moving across the map as we speak. Going to be taking that Xel'Naga Watchtower. Yes, that is a Xel'Naga Watchtower. That is not a Warp Gate, as it looks like. There's another one in this position, and actually, you know what, on this version of this map, one of them's not red. In other versions of it, I think it's this one that's red normally. I don't know why they would do that, but just an aesthetic choice by the designers of the map. This is such an interesting map to play on. Always interests me to see where they choose their fourth base, actually. Normally I like to talk about the third base, but on this map, third base is usually pretty self-explanatory. You take your natural here, your third is just right down here. It is on the low ground here, and it is kind of open to your opponent. But not too terrible to hold just because it is nearby. Fourth bases, however, can be much, much trickier to take, because you're either taking this base over here, which is kind of far to have to go, or you're taking this smaller gold expansion here, which kind of is a little tricky to get to from here. If you check this out, there is, you have to go around this way to get to this gold expansion. So I think it's much more typical that players take this as their fourth base and then go for this gold expansion here. In particular, these bushes right here can make it a little bit hard to attack from this side, whereas defending from this side, there's no bushes on this side, can make it a little bit easier to have to deal with. Now, we do see from morroW a very fast factory has gone down in order to get that early map control with that one Hellion that he is now moving around the map. It is going to be jumping between these two Xel'Naga Watchtowers, it looks like, trying to get some good scouting information on his opponent, try to watch the unit movement of his opponent. But right now for aAaNerchio, all we're seeing is a lot of drones. He did manage to scout that factory with that early Ling, so he's got a spine crawler up and in position to be able to deal with any kind of Hellion harass. It's actually a little bit, I'm not sure about this unit positioning here by aAaNerchio. I would like to see it a little tighter to this area so that it could be defending this ramp. I think a lot of Hellions might be able to possibly slip by here, maybe only taking a hit, maybe just one hit from that spine crawler. Not the best positioning in my opinion, but hey, I'm not the professional player and I'm not the one that wins a ton of tournaments here. aAaNerchio is. So, we do actually have a Banshee now coming across the map for morroW. This is going to be the first time he's going to be getting out a Banshee in this best of 3. Looks like he's going to be moving it to the back of the base of the natural for aAaNerchio, and how prepared is he for this right now? We do have one Spore Crawler here coming down. Looks like, yes, we do have an Overlord now moving into the base So he is getting prepared for this Banshee to be up, and that Banshee does have that cloak ability. It just now cloaked, and it is now starting to focus down this Spore Crawler. Will that Spore Crawler be able to make it up? Another Spore Crawler is starting to be built here by aAaNerchio, and a third as well. Looks like he's just going to be waiting for that Banshee to run out of energy. In the meantime, that Banshee continuing to focus down that Spore Crawler. The Spore Crawler is now up, and oh my goodness there, the Spore Crawler finally just goes down there, able to get off 1 or 2 shots there, and now these Queens forced to just sit back and wait. Now these Queens trying to get to that back position as close as they can because that Banshee they know is getting really, really low on health. Looks like aAaNerchio is going to try to apply some pressure on his opponent here, but there isn't going to be too much of a good chance for doing that as there is a siege tank as well as a few Marines there in that side of the map. This Banshee is now just going to be hanging out in the back of the base. And we do have some Spore Crawlers now all around the map here for aAaNerchio. Looks like he's going to be fairly content to be holding on. I actually think this Queen is following this Overlord right now. Aw, isn't she adorable? Anyway, at the expansion of mouzMorroW, he is going to be throwing down his orbital command, sending out this small group. It looks like he's going to be able to catch all these Lings that are currently just holding position. Some Lings carelessly lost there by aAaNerchio. Did manage to see that this expansion has gone down. Knows that, yeah, at least saw that that was going down just a little bit. Another Banshee doing a little bit of harassment here in the main of mouzMorroW. And am I still on aAaNerchio's vision? No. Usually when you're on the vision of only one player, you will hear all those little warnings like you require more pylons or you require more Vespene gas. My personal favorite. Third expansion now going down for aAaNerchio as he's getting ready to take that third. Not at all being aggressive right now, going for a very, very macro-oriented style of play across all of these games. Has some Lings moving around the map, but other than that, he's being very, very good about building up a ton of drones. Let's actually check out that harvester count right now. Yeah, there you go. That's how aAaNerchio likes to do it. We've got 48 harvesters currently on the map for aAaNerchio, and to the 38 of mouzMorroW. What is mouzMorroW going to be going for now? We do see now that that starport has come off that tech lab, and a barracks has been swapped onto that tech lab. So again, making good use of the tech labs. I absolutely love this from mouzMorroW, being so smart with his buildings, thinking ahead as to how exactly he wants to use them. It's all very well thought out and planned builds. In advance, as he did get that tech lab down, and then he just swaps a barracks onto it so he can start transitioning into that factory, siege tank, and marine medevac style of play. He is getting that combat shield, and as well as the stim now coming down for all these units. Will follow, I'm sure. At this point in time, he does not have stim, and I'm sure he will be getting it as he's going to be going for that Marine Siege Tank style of play once again. The forces of aAaNerchio, again, just planting some Marines outside of his base. I absolutely love this from aAaNerchio. Absolutely like to have these units right here outside of this base. This means, and then he has a couple of Zerglings on this Xel'Naga tower, and between those Lings and these Lings on the Xel'Naga watchtower, he can monitor exactly the motion of his opponent, and this is exactly what he was waiting for. As mouzMorroW moves out, he's now going to be moving into the natural expansion, taking out a lot of drones here, trying to get as many kills as he can, but this third is starting to look very, very dangerous here for mouzMorroW, as this Banshee is now going to be leading the charge here with a lot of Marines. Siege Tank's going to be sieging up there. In the meantime, these Zerglings completely harassing the base of mouzMorroW right now. Will this command center go down? And yes, it does, and was not canceled there. I don't think that was canceled. And in the meantime, mouzMorroW continuing to apply pressure while trying to figure out exactly what to do about all this pressure that is coming down from these Lings here. He does have a bunker here in position. He has raised his supply depots, but he doesn't have enough to be able to deal with these Lings. Needs to lift off this orbital command as soon as he can. It does have an SCV right now, and mouzMorroW not really paying attention to what's going on. I'm going to keep that orbital command down here so we're going to be able to see what is going on. The hatchery falls for aAaNerchio, and it looks like that orbital command finally did get lifted off, and yes, that is exactly what we see here as the forces of mouzMorroW are now moving out to push out all these forces. In the meantime, another expansion started to go down here for aAaNerchio. So it looks like he's going to be mining very, very soon on 3 bases once again. In the meantime, mouzMorroW now just pulling back, wants to take care of all these Lings, knows there's a big group of Lings still around the map. And what do we have here but Mutalisks, a completely different style of play here from aAaNerchio that we saw in games 1 and 2. Will mouzMorroW be expecting this? We don't see any turrets down yet. For mouzMorroW, I assume he's going to be expecting that Muta, or rather that Roach Ling style of play. And no, we actually see that aAaNerchio is going for Mutas here, and all of the Marines are currently out of position. They are not in any kind of position to be able to deal with this. aAaNerchio being absolutely amazing with his harassment, placing some more Zerglings down here at this lower expansion. So once all these forces of mouzMorroW get up here, I'm sure he's going to start to move in with these Lings, and that's exactly what we are seeing as Nerchio now moving in with all these Zerglings here to try to go for a little bit of a counterattack, pick off a few SCVs here, continuing to be very, very annoying with these Mutalisks, and it looks like these Lings are going to go down, and these missile turrets are actually going to go up. One of them manages to get up. Nerchio was trying to focus him down there so he could get a little more harassment in with these Mutas, but now going to be forced to pull back with those Mutas. Now starting to get up some more forces, now producing Mutalisks very heavily. We do have Banelings coming down, so Nerchio finally going for a very, very standard style of Zerg play against Terran. Baneling Nest currently researching that centrifugal hooks. We have that Spire up right now. Roachborn is up, but it has not been used at all this game. +2 ground Carapace coming up on that evolution chamber for Nerchio. No hive tech quite yet. He can afford to sit on lair tech for a little bit longer. In the previous games, hit that Roach Ling style definitely requires that you tech to Broodlords much faster behind it, just because you don't want to be using Roach Ling in the late game. You want to have something else to tech into, and so definitely want to be teching to either Ultralisks or Broodlords as fast as you can, and that's exactly what we saw from Nerchio in the previous 2 games. And this Banshee just barely